Welcome to the Verdin Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Pat yourself on the back. You made it through it. Now it's Monday. Can't complain, though. You had a good weekend. LSU baseball swept. Women's basketball is putting together a decent run. I can't say the same about men's basketball, but that's neither here nor there. At this point, I feel like you're used to hearing that about men's basketball. You've got polar opposites sitting here, your yin and your yang, a team that's on a losing streak, opposite team that's on a winning streak. At least you're going to be able to experience some sort of NCAA tournament run. I'll say that. At least we're going to be able to experience some March Madness, if you will. Then, of course, I'll break down our UFC Fight Night experience. Went to Houston, saw a friend of the program, Carly Judas. Shout out Carly. Another victory. Improves on her impressive winning streak. Very good performance. Exciting show. Yeah. All right, let's jump right into the women's basketball game yesterday. They beat the hell out of Mizzou. And I mean, they beat the hell out of them. 108-55, 53-point win. Almost double the points that they scored. Please put that into perspective. You got them scoring 55. You're winning by 53. Quick math will tell you, you scored 2 more points. You scored double what they did. So great defensive efforts. I think most of it is visualized through the rebounding battle. They got 69 total rebounds. 4 starters dominated with them on the glass, getting double-digit boards. Amaya with 12. Zakiah with 10. Full Wiley with 14. Full Wiley with 11. Zakiah with 14. Michaela with 10. And Amaya with 12. Kate Colville had 7 as well. Here's an interesting statistic for Full Wiley, though. First off, not only did she ball again in back-to-back games, having 20+, she finished with 22, had 6 3-pointers. This is the more impressive statistic. 2 steals and 3 blocks. That's what Full Wiley brings to the court. It's a two-way defending player that can create on offense, but can also hold her in on the defense. And naturally, we've talked about it through the last few weeks. We talked about it with G Sports. We talked about it with Reed Darcy. We talked about it with a lot of people, even Joe Schwartz. It's about trying to slow her down and not making her do too much, not trying to jump every passing lane, not trying to, make every flashy pass or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you got to slow her down and make her play at her pace. Don't make her do too much where she's making mistakes and having the turnovers and having the rough starts and having the moments like you saw against South Carolina. She's looking good, though, through the last few weeks. And, I mean, look, I'm going to say this. If there's any time that you want your team to hit their stride, it's right now when the month of February is winding down and the month of March is creeping up on you. This is when the basketball matters. I'll say it time and time again. The regular season is fine, and of course, you want to win regular season games. That's how you get into the postseason. But once you do that, once you get your seeding, once you clinch your berth, the regular season gets thrown out of the window. They don't care about how many turnovers you had. They don't care about if you're in a slump. They don't care about how many games in a row you scored X amount of points. It's going to come down to who can perform the best. And there's going to be I'm not going to say a narrative, but there's going to be a worry going into this tournament that LSU women's basketball is going to have to address. Kim Mulkey talked about it in a press conference. It's the experience level of this team. It's the amount of freshmen that you have playing. It's the amount of new faces that you have on this team. She wants to know if the freshmen and the younger pieces are going to be able to adjust to that level of play. And I'll say this, a sidebar. Them hosting the first 2 rounds helps. You're at home for 2 weeks. The first 2 games of the tournament will be in Baton Rouge, more likely than not. As if the season ended today, they'd have the 3 seed. They would have the Baton Rouge section, of course, and they would host High Point, Notre Dame, and Princeton with the 3rd seed. So, I mean, you're in a spot where the freshmen can adjust, is my point. Now, I'm sure they're going to have times where the moment might be a little bigger, lights might be a little brighter, they might be nervous, if you will. It happens. The good part about it is if there's any program in the country that is ready for this type of moment, it would be the one that's playing on primetime national television on a Saturday night versus one of the biggest programs in front of a sold-out crowd. Time and time again. Or it's the program that's going on the road watching those crowds become sellout record crowds and experience all the atmosphere and whatnot. Everywhere they go, it's high energy, it's high impact. Every stadium's packed out, and every game is, quite frankly, the biggest game for that team that they're playing. So my point is that a lot of the moments this year have been big for them. So potentially it could help, but you're going to have to see it. The proof will be in the pudding. Back to the Mizzou game, though. Mizzou shot terrible. So I will give them credit for the defense. LSU, Michaela, held her end as well. She had 4 steals. I don't want to forget about that. We talked about Malaysia. She got active as well on her end. Mizzou shot 24% from the field, 25% from beyond the arc, 66% from the free throw line. It's terrible. Just terrible. But great win for LSU. You're wrapping the season up. You got 2 games left, one of them at home. It'll be Thursday versus Tennessee. And then you got one of them on the road on Sunday versus Mississippi State. Next week on Wednesday, you're about, 8 to 9 days out, the SEC tournament starts. We've talked about that a little bit, how we feel about it. The NCAA tournament now 3 weeks away. So that'll be March 18th. You should, keyword, should host the first 2 rounds. You need a top 3 seed. You got in the number 3 seed every year. Kim Mulkey is here, and I will repeat myself. If the season ended today, you would be number 3. You have 2 games left, Mississippi State and Tennessee. If you ask my humble opinion, I think there is no way LSU does not host in Baton Rouge. And this would be every single season that Mulkey was here, in my opinion. So, very interesting. What's up, Chicago Cheat in the chat? Damon Wilson. Chicago saying they'll never give us a 1 seed as long as that non-conference looks like that. I think we'll end up being a 2 seed, maybe the second number overall. Let's see. Interesting. So, to your point, the non-conference schedule, yeah, it's a give and a take, and I understand both sides. Because, look, if you do schedule a tough non-conference, I don't know, like a Texas playing a South Carolina or something, even though they are conference rivals, even though it's not going to count for the SEC record, whatever, that's neither here nor there. The non-conference schedule does give you the ability to test your team earlier in the year. Now, I'll be devil's advocate. Having a lighter schedule in the beginning when you have a newer team, especially like we just said a few minutes ago, when you have a bunch of freshmen, it kind of lets you see what you got, as well as letting the starters, your big stars, whether it be Michaela or Flage or Malaysia, they don't have to play as much. Joe Schwartz came on here and he talked about how Michaela has been, quite frankly, how do I put this? She's been the most energized during her time at LSU this season due to the I'm not going to say the lack of minutes, but she didn't have to play 30 minutes a game in the beginning when you're boat racing someone by 50. Some people can see it being like, oh, well, it's not competitive and it's not going to help you in the tournament. Some people can see it, kind of letting you have a litmus test, if you will, for your team early on before you really get into the grease. So I see both sides. Like we were saying, it's just going to have to kind of prove itself in the tournament here. LSU's got the 5th best odds, though, to win it all. Behind UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, and Texas. 3rd best odds in the SEC, according to that. You split them with Texas, so you know you could beat Texas. At this point, it's just about getting revenge versus South Carolina, which is undoubtedly the best team in college, in my opinion. The whole country. But that's my take on this. All right, men's hoops. Now we're going to go to the opposite part of the basketball program here at this great university. LSU men's basketball's losing streak continues. 5 games currently right now. 5 games in a row. Bama just beat them 90-83. And look, it wasn't a horrible game. It was competitive, if you will. At halftime, they were only down 3. I've seen a lot worse. I mean, look, you lost to Arkansas by 29. So I'll take this game. I'll take some proximity in the score, if you will, because it doesn't happen often. 2-12 in the SEC, 14-13 overall. I don't have to say anymore. I don't. You've had 14 games in your conference, and you've won 2. One of the ones you won had to go to overtime as well, and that's fine. I'm not sitting here, complaining about it. I'm just saying, though, that it was a down-to-the-wire game that you had to have extra minutes to be able to win, and it's only your 2nd one in the entire SEC wing, which is interesting. 4 games left, though. Wednesday, they play at Ole Miss. Saturday, they play versus Oklahoma in the PMAC. Then next week, Tuesday at Auburn. And then Saturday in the PMAC again versus Texas A&M. Their conference tournament will be a week after the women's. It'll be March 11th to 15. I'll say this, though. As the season winds down, it's becoming very evident, very clear that this will be the last run for Matt McMahon. I know the buyout's $11 million. I know people are interested on if they're going to try to run one more year with him to lower the buyout and just see. I don't know what else you need to see. I don't. And I'm not saying anything other than there's a lack of production on the court. McMahon is a great dude. I've had nothing but positive experiences with him. But sometimes you have to make a really tough decision. LSU wants to be competitive in every single aspect. Baseball, women's basketball, football, track and field. I can sit here for 20 minutes and ramble about all of the accolades and alumni and historic records that you have. You even have a woman competing in the Olympics right now. So my point is that there is a standard of excellence here, and I do think he hasn't met it, and he's had enough time to meet it. Now, naturally, when you come in and you have all the sanctions and all the scholarship issues, if you will, because of what happened with Will Wade and the recruiting violations and all this good stuff, it's tough, right? It's tough to come in here and immediately turn around a program. That didn't stop them from axing Brian Kelly, though. Because please keep in mind, when Brian Kelly came in, he had 35 scholarship players. They gave him 4 years. They gave him a lot of opportunity, a number one transfer portal class, and they fired him midseason because they saw the vision wasn't going to pan out. There was a disconnect in what LSU thought was going to happen going forward and what he thought was going to happen going forward. I'm not saying that's happening now with Matt McMahon, but I am saying they have to have a serious conversation on if this is going to work. In my opinion, I just don't know if it will. Chicago Cheat in the chat saying he don't think they get another win this year. I'll agree with them. The 4 teams that you're playing, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Auburn, and A&M, I think are all quality SEC teams. Now, can you squeak one out? Yes. That would only bump you up to your 3rd SEC win. There's programs that got that in their first 3 games. But it's tough. It's tough. I mean, everything's going to be perfect, but you do have to make a tough decision here if you're Virgil coming up. And I don't know who you hire. I don't know if you poke and prod at North Carolina State and try to go get Will Wade back. I don't know what you do, but you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something to go forward because it seems like we're going backwards. At the very least, you're staying still. So going to have to make some tough decisions. All right, LSU baseball, before we wrap this up. They swept the Jacksonville College Baseball Classic. They beat Indiana. They beat Notre Dame. They beat University of Central Florida. Very good weekend through and through for LSU. They moved to 8-0 in the season. They play again tomorrow at the Box versus McNeese at 6:30 p.m. This weekend, you got a little bit of an interesting series. You got 2 opponents coming in. Dartmouth, where you'll play Friday and Sunday. Northeastern, you'll play Saturday and Monday. As of right now, I'll give you a few names to know. I did it last week. Again, we'll keep up with the little heat check, if you will. Jake Brown on fire, batting a 459, 16 ribbies on 17 hits. He's one of your more impactful players on this whole entire diamond. Seth Darter, I would say, is heating up as well. 400 average with 10 ribbies on 8 hits. You got 7 batters batting over a 300 average with minimum of 20 at-bats right now. That's a wild statistic. It's still early, but the fact that your bats are hot that quick, it's impressive. LSU is one of and this goes back to my point where I'm saying there's a standard of excellence. You got the women's basketball team who's hosted a tournament in this city every single year. You've got the baseball team who's won 2 of the last 3 national titles, and they're going to probably make another run in the Omaha this year, as I believe they're the number 1 team in terms of odds to win it all. You're going to have to get that men's basketball program back on track. That's just my humble opinion. All right, we're about to hop out of here. We got something special brewing. I'm gonna keep it under wraps for now. I'm just gonna make everybody confused. What the hell has he got going on? I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you. Maybe I'll tell you Wednesday. Maybe I'll tell you Friday. Maybe I don't tell you. Maybe I just keep it a secret forever. But we are indeed, well, my partner Pat McAfee would say, up to 7. Up to 7. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Coco, Dame, and Chicago Cheetah. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the stream. Please hit that thumbs up before you're out of here. And we will be live Wednesday at 9 a.m. once again. Bye-bye.